We went to Costco and we got some great bargains, and we can't wait to share them with you. I'm Benjamin, and this is my sweet mother Mary and my wonderful father Ted, and we're Shop with the Schraders. So who doesn't love Costco? I mean, it is the place to be. You got your little membership card, it's all cool, great prices. Starting off with one of the first things I got, I've never seen anything like this. It is a massive candle.
Oh my gosh.
It has like multiple wicks. And for me, I said, you know, power goes out. Eventually you're gonna run out of batteries, and it's always good to have a backup. And then finally, just the uniqueness of it. You know, I'm gonna be having a housewarming party here in a little bit with some of my friends getting together. And I said, this will be a neat thing to put out.
That is neat. I like
Catch
it.
some eyes.
Yeah, open it up.
Let's see this. It had,
Does it have some aroma to it?
you know, I think they all did. Was this one like Sea Breeze? It sounded the most. Mayfield Candle Company. How much was this? I remember it being a little on the pricier side because I remember I almost didn't get it. Yeah, 5 wicks.
Oh, that's amazing.
5 wicks.
This was $49.99,
Yeah.
but this is gonna last a really long time. Can you get
Oh
it?
my gosh.
It's huge.
It is crazy heavy.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Look at me.
Oh,
Oh, okay, you can see through it then.
Yeah.
So the light will kind of bounce off of it.
Boy.
Oh yeah, the wicks, yeah.
5 different
That's
wicks.
amazing.
Look at that.
oh, wow.
That's quite something. Here, let's who can read here? I mean, it is heavy.
That's funny. It says, always burn responsibly and trim wick to 1/4 inch prior to lighting.
Kind of looks like
Yeah.
a 1/4 inch already.
See bottom of jar for additional information. Huh.
Yeah.
That is a really
Biggest candle I've ever seen.
that is neat. That's a conversation piece.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're going away saying, wow, that is the biggest candle I've ever seen.
See, I always love having things that are a little, you know, unique and things like that. So then people have a memory and they're like,
Yeah,
wow.
I like that. That's going to be perfect for
That
your
is gonna be fun.
housewarming party. And I wonder if it helps at all, like if y'all are outside in your backyard, I wonder if it helps discourage
Maybe.
any bugs coming by.
I know I have
I
the
know-
little mini,
The citronellas?
yeah, the little mini ones, which, you know,
It's nice.
they just smell almost like tea tree oil.
Yeah, then all it says, yeah, fragrance notes, bright citrus,
Oh, that's
What does
good.
bright smell like?
Oh,
cool ocean waters, and rich organic wood. G-U-A-I-A-C
I never heard of that.
wood.
Bunch of gobbledygook.
It does sound like that Corinthian leather type.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Made up word, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I forget in the last video, I had some vendetta against something. I don't remember what it was. I was saying something was like ridiculous,
Oh,
but
that's funny. That's
So-
funny.
who shall go next?
Should I show
Sure,
something?
sure.
Well, something that really caught my attention is I have purchased in the past these 7 Sundays cereals, and I like these because they have very natural ingredients, just like oats and maple syrup, blueberries, cranberries, flax seeds. They don't sweeten with white sugar. You know, in the case of this one, they've got maple syrup and coconut sugar. And those are all good too, because if you follow like the glycemic index diet, these have a lower impact. Coconut sugar and maple syrup have less impact, you know, on your, I guess, insulin, glucose, you know, ranges or whatever the case may be. But this intrigued me because this is something new. This is made with, these are protein oats. So I was very curious, protein oats, what does that mean? And it says, this is not your average oatmeal, folks. Our oats have over twice the protein and fiber than the oatmeal we had as kids. Well, what's interesting is this is called upcycled oats. And they add liquid to the rolled oats that is a byproduct of when companies make oat milk. And I found this very intriguing, but I was also a little concerned, like, is this going to be highly processed? Because is the process of making oat milk a highly processed process? That's funny. But is it going to, you know, the last thing I want to bring into the house are things that are really processed. But I did some research, and most oat milks, although they're modern day oat milks, I show in, I think in my first cookbook, I think, in the Modern Pioneer cookbook, I show how to make real oat milk, like the old-fashioned way, the way the Scottish people did. It's not made like that today, but I don't think what they sell in the grocery store is terribly processed. And well, anyways, there's this byproduct, and they add it to the rolled oats, and it increases the protein, because this liquid that's left over apparently is high in protein, and that's how they make quote-unquote upcycled oats. So I found this very intriguing, so I wanted to buy this and try this. You know, it's always good to have a little extra protein in your diet. But, you know, if you know me, I really like to try to make things as homemade as possible, and I actually found a recipe for making homemade high protein oatmeal.
Wow.
So, or high protein oats like this. And it involves, you know, like using egg yolks and whatnot. But this I think is easy, and, you know, as I've shared with the guys in the past, and Benjamin's wonderful, you know, about stocking the pantry and all of that.
You got to be ready.
You got to be ready. You got to have multiple streams of food. And even though, yes, we might be able to make a homemade version of this, having this handy in our pantry, I think, is just fantastic. So I'll report back to you after we taste this and we see what we think of it.
It was funny. You always, as a kid, we always had a lot of oatmeal.
Yes.
And I wasn't a fan at first until you got a little bear with a little like cap, and he was a shaker with cinnamon in it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I remember that to this day. Yeah. That made oatmeal palatable.
That's funny.
How much was it?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to see, what the price was for this. But
Now, what would you drink with it? Like your A2 milk, or?
yeah, you could use regular milk. You could use, you know, what's becoming very popular now is the A2 milk. That's from the cows that carry the A2 protein as opposed to the A1 protein, which is more like your American Holstein cows have the A1 protein. But apparently, people who have trouble with dairy can have trouble with that A1 protein. But A2 protein is from cows that were normally breeds from, I believe, Europe, like the Jersey cow and the, I can't think of the Guernsey, the Jersey cow and the Guernsey cow. And a lot of people are raising them here now in the U.S. and producing A2 milk. And apparently the A2 protein agrees with some people who had trouble with the A1 protein. So that's something to think about. You could use oat milk, you know. You could use, I'm not a huge fan of the nut milks unless they're really made properly, because you always have to keep in mind, you know, you hear a lot now about lectins and how they can be very hard on the digestive tract, and certain nuts can be high in lectins, like almonds. And so if the almond milk isn't made properly, meaning that the almonds are soaked well, you know, before turning them into milk and possibly even sprouted, and which helps decrease some of those lectins. But I think this would be very interesting to try with oat milk.
Yeah,
I would
I think oat milk's probably, I don't know much about it, but I avoid almond milk and soy milk.
Oh yeah,
Not
soy
good for,
milk.
yeah.
Soy milk, that's so processed.
I like my raw milk.
That's what you grew up with.
Yeah.
Along the line of shining the light on your
We
your
like
fellow
shiny
man,
things.
I saw this thing and I thought, by golly, this needs to fall into the cart. Now this is not edible, but it's a infinity light, and it can provide 5,000 lumens. I think you
Wow.
can see it from space. And what attracted to me about this, you can do two things. You can load it up with batteries, or you can charge it. It has a rechargeable battery inside too. That's interesting. You know, between the two, I like things where you can switch out batteries. I know it's you've got to have batteries available to you, but the nice thing about it is that if it runs out and you can't charge it up right away, you can switch them out real quick, and then you've got a full-fledged, fully powered electronic item. So that I like the versatility of the two together. And the reason why this was attractive to pick up is because if you're a subscriber to the Mary's Nest newsletter, you'll know that last year we went through a time of terror where a skunk had, for some reason, thought that our house, our lawn, were part of its property, and so it would go on a walkabout, especially into our backyard. I don't know how it got in there, and then surprised us one day, surprised Indy, and
our dog,
and just sprayed Indy. It was just a mess. But and then there were all kinds of remedies we tried to do with it, like is it tomato sauce?
Tomato bacon
juice.
Some kind of
Some
green
people,
apple,
Dawn dishwashing liquid.
all kinds of modern and traditional or
Classic remedies.
some odd or just odd things I would say worked for them, but thankfully, I think it smell dissipated after a couple months or so, and but it got what I have now. What I've been going out with them in the early morning part of the hours, because that's the dawn is when the skunks are active. I have a flashlight that's about half this size, that's really bright when you have fully charged batteries, and then I can really scan the area. I've got them on the leash. I scan it to see if there's any movement. Sometimes Indy will also let us know, because if he's a little tense or apprehensive, I know something's around, and so I scan the area, and then that's good. Then if I don't see anything, then he's good, at least for that grow around in the outdoors. But when the sun comes up, we're in good shape, though, because I think since they're nocturnal, we're good until the next dawn.
It's like vampires.
It is, isn't it? I should get garlic, too.
Yes.
But anyway, this seems very promising. Maybe I'll be able to spot him even sooner if he comes around again. So, but thankfully, I haven't seen him for a while.
That's very good.
If
is
if I remember correctly, at least that one skunk was a noble foe, and we salute him, because I think driving back home one day, we saw a friend on the road had some,
his demise.
His demise.
Yes.
So a worthy foe. We battled with honor.
So if you find this fellow in Costco, look for the lumens. You really want to light up the area, and give yourself a good. This also, you can twist the beam to make it wider or focused. And so hopefully, if you don't have critters, or you just need to help around the house, around outside, or if you're camping or whatnot, this is a perfect addition to your kit.
It's amazing with the LEDs today. I remember when I was a kid, we still had to have the actual light bulbs, and they were the big, like the yellow, and you had to put the big battery in it, and then screw the top on.
C-size battery.
Yep.
Something like
And then
that.
it was that big. It was a big flashlight, but the light was kind of dim.
Yeah.
And now with the LEDs, just the way technology advances, so it's.
Do you remember we used to have my father's stepfather had a military flashlight.
Yeah.
That was actually, but it was curved, right? So it wasn't directly. It was curved. And you could unscrew it, unscrew the part where the bulb was at, and you could pop out lenses.
Yep.
Like it could be
Blue, red,
or yellow, or something.
Yeah,
or something
a ton
like
of
that.
colors.
And screw it back on. So then you could, I guess you could flash or.
And you
insert
could do
different
Morse
colors.
code with it.
Yeah, it's very cool. I have no idea where.
So
that's
you
at.
gave that to me, Dad. I did not know that belonged to Granddad's.
Oh, don't worry.
I believe it's under my childhood bed.
Oh, no worries.
I am so sorry. I didn't know that. Forgive me.
It's no worries at all. You could probably find them in old Army surplus stores too, but But that's interesting.
I didn't know that was a family heirloom.
But you know,
I'm confident we still have it somewhere
But-
upstairs.
Oh yeah, there
you
are many
know-
treasures under your,
Oh, yeah.
your
But
family,
in terms
your
of
childhood pet.
lumens, though, this would blow
That's amazing.
those old flashlights out of the water. But it was cool.
God bless, yeah, they used to have to use those during, I watched some video and only certain soldiers got them.
Is that
And,
right? Wow.
yeah, like in World War
Wow.
II.
Interesting.
I forget who exactly, but yeah, pretty neat.
Wow, that's amazing. I just wanted to say, if you're new here, you may have heard my husband mentioning the Mary's Nest newsletter, and you may know the three of us from the Mary's Nest YouTube channel. This is Shop with the Schraders. This is our shopping channel. But on Mary's Nest, that's where I teach traditional cooking, like bone broth and cultured dairy ferment, sourdough and whatnot. But my husband's been on the channel, and our sweet son has been on the channel, and Benjamin shares a lot of stories with you about growing up. And if you have any interest in learning or understanding about different types of learning differences like dyslexia, if that's something that interests you, we'll put the link in the description below, where underneath this video, where Benjamin talks all about that over on Mary's Nest, because people who, you may be raising a child or a grandchild, who has dyslexia, and they may find it very interesting to hear Benjamin talk about his experiences growing up.
Yes, no, I have very severe dyslexia and severe dysgraphia, dyscalculia. Got the big three. So, it was tough growing up with it, and still it can be. Simple things like reading and such. But, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. And it either forges people to be a better person or it breaks them. And luckily I didn't break, so.
Your tenacity is amazing. And
I learned from the best.
And I found the price of this finally, talking about reading. This, they say, Wilderberry oat.
Squished together.
And I'm looking for oatmeal or something like that. And this was $8.99, which you might say, well, that seems kind of expensive. But it is 28 ounces, so that's a good amount of cereal here. And this is very concentrated, and you would just eat a little bit of it. But, so I just wanted to let you know, $8.99. I finally found the price.
Do you know the flashlight?
Oh, the flashlight. Let me look for that one now, too. And
Boy, that holds a lot of batteries.
It does. It's
that's really
That's
terrific.
amazing. Bunch of double A's.
Yeah, double A.
$29.99.
Okay, well, it's not. It's not inexpensive.
It's
but
not inexpensive, but
for
it's
what it does, it works.
There's nothing like a good flashlight.
It's a fair price, and I think that if you went, because I know we've shopped at the different, like sporting good type stores or, that sell these kind of things, and they're always expensive. So I think $29.99 for something like that.
Keep a little one in my back pocket.
Yeah.
And this was like $15.
Yeah.
And then you could get that for $29.99. So
It's amazing. Do you have another fun
Yes,
thing?
yes.
Or-
So, going off a little maple syrup adventure, I have seen this so many times in my wonderful mother's prepper pantry, and in the what was the other one? Shoot, the ready to go pantry or.
Oh, well, we have
The working pantry.
yeah.
I have seen this in both the prepper pantry and the working pantry. So when I saw this at Costco, I said, well, it's in my mother's pantry, so I know it's a healthy and good food. I'm getting it. And the fact that it doesn't spike the glycemic index, how fantastic. I don't eat a ton of maple syrup. I'm not a pancake guy. I'm a little more of a waffle guy. I have good memories. The two of us making waffles in hotels and things like that, But, I'm not sure what I will use it on, but I feel maple syrup, it's a good thing to have. You should have it in your house. This seems like a really good one. Good price, a lot of it.
And organic.
And organic. Sometimes something I do like to do is if I am having sausages, like in the morning, I will put maple syrup on the sausages.
Oh, that's
I used to do that as a
delicious.
kid.
Yes.
And so, yeah, that's probably how I'll end up using it. I try to eat a high-protein diet. So, yeah, should be very good, and this is a classic one.
That is very good. And that's $12.69, which for maple syrup, how much is in that? This looks like it's a good amount.
That's a lot.
Let's see.
1
it's-
liter.
1 liter. Yeah.
1L 33.8
1
fluid
liter.
ounces. Wait a second.
They have a lot of different measurements here. Yeah, I think it's 1 liter or 1 quart and then a few
Huh.
ounces. So
Huh.
1 liter of maple syrup, organic, for $12.69. That's good because maple syrup's expensive.
It is. It is. Well, real maple syrup, it's hard to make, you know? They gotta tap the tree and then go through a whole folderol.
Yeah. Oh boy. But it is delicious. I like it.
Oh, yes.
So should I show another
yes,
thing that
yes.
I got down here? Can you reach that?
Of course.
I love their peanut butter. And I just think you can't beat the price on this because this is, you've got 2 and they're 28 ounces each. I mean, this, it's just such a good buy to get 2. And now, I am a crunchy peanut butter girl. They don't have crunchy peanut butter there. This is creamy, but I don't mind at all because sometimes, you know, just to have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich is so tasty. And also, making different types of dressings and whatnot, and having the peanut butter available. I just keep it in my refrigerator. I'll put 1 in my extended pantry, or what we nickname the prepper pantry, and then I'll put 1 in my refrigerator once I open it. I know a lot of people say you don't need to refrigerate peanut butter. You can leave it in your working pantry, the pantry you work out of every day. But I do like to keep it in the refrigerator. And
I'm with you on that. I'd be afraid.
And this is $9.99, so say $10, so $5 for 1. I don't think that you can buy a good quality organic peanut butter like this, and it's made with the good peanuts. The Valencia peanuts are supposed to be like the premium peanuts for making peanut butter. And basically it's just dry roasted organic peanuts and the Valencia peanuts and salt, and sea salt, and that's it. So it's very natural, it's organic, and if peanut butter agrees with you, I have never found a better price on peanut butter anywhere.
Your knowledge about these things is... Who knows about Valencia peanuts? Who even knows to know about that? It's like today, we were in the car running some errands before this, and I asked you about, what was it, hay... harvest.
Oh, Haymaker's Punch.
I saw a YouTube video about this of like, in the back when times, and I couldn't remember what it was called, and I mentioned, it was like apple cider vinegar, water, and molasses. Right away, a Haymaker's Punch. That's amazing. That's amazing.
That's my thing. I love traditional foods. I love being, I'm not by education a food historian or anything like that, but
probably know more than a lot of food historians.
As a hobbyist, I love learning about things, from the colonial era, anything, even back farther, the Middle Ages, and then into the 17th, 18th, 19th centuries. I love learning about how our ancestors made food, how they prepared it, and how they learned over time what nourished them. They intrinsically started to know, okay, this agrees with me, I feel good, I'm healthy, I'm strong, I have healthy children, and so on and so forth. And I love that. I can't learn enough. If I was going back to school, I would find a school where I could study, just like food science or food history, culinary history. It's also interesting to me.
I take more on the military side of that, I'm just glad I wasn't that first guy who they made try everything to figure out what was edible and what wasn't.
You didn't have like people who worked for the king.
Oh, the food tasters, make sure nothing was poisoned. Yeah.
Alrighty, what goodies are next?
Yes.
Here?
Yes.
Well, this intrigued me. This is Zesty Southwest corn sticks, corn nuts, almonds, pepitas, and cheese crisps.
That's right up your alley.
It's a salad topper. Now, we all enjoy salads. Of course, salads are delicious to have, but I always like to have a little crunch with it in anything I have. And So this would be akin to maybe croutons, but maybe a Southwest version of them, perhaps.
Yeah.
It seemed delightful to me, and I always like to have a little spice in my food. So I thought, well, why not? I know we had room in the cart.
You always go for a little bit of zest. And I want to say that we should be very happy that these are here because I did not know these were salad toppers.
Ooh.
And I saw them last night in the pile of things that we were going to film. And I was thinking, I said, oh, well, I could just bust that open and, I could hide it away. Just have a little snack. But I resisted.
You're good at,
Zesty.
You drew from that English.
Amen.
Yeah, because after we went shopping, we're filming this in Ben's house, but Ben lives about 5 minutes from us, and this is this is a lovely home, and we piled everything up in his kitchen, so we left a lot of temptation.
Oh, there was. And sometimes, if you watch our last video, you will see that there were some mochi, the little ice cream balls that they had. They had an incident before filming, and they went away. They went upstate to the farm.
And you found them delicious,
They
didn't
were
you?
amazing.
We got those at Trader Joe's.
5 stars. So how much were
this
those
has
guys?
$10.49. Now
It is
let's
heavy.
just take
It's a heavy
let's take a
bag.
look at it. How many ounces is that? It was really funny when my mother has returned to her eternal home, but when she was alive, anything she would look at the grocery store, if it was under 16 ounces, she'd go, under a pound, put it back on the shelf. This is 24 ounces. So, it's a good amount because you're using this as a topper. Yes, I think
couple
you and Ben
salads.
could sit down
Oh,
and
yeah. We
enjoy it.
split this.
But all things considered, the ingredients are, like you said, this is a relatively wholesome thing if you like crunch and you want something for a change of pace other than croutons. And croutons are great, and I never recommend buying them because they're often made in the grocery stores, with like the seed oils and a lot of processed oils that we're trying to all get out of our diets. But they're so easy to make homemade. Just save bread, scraps, and whatnot, and then cut them up and make croutons. But this is fun. And it's spicy.
I remember
'cause
you
Ted
making-
loves spicy food.
I remember you making croutons when I was a
Yeah.
kid. Yeah, just the old bread.
And I'm working
And you could
working
try.
on some right now. I forgot to.
Oh.
I wanted because I know you like them, and I forget. And you were saying
Oh.
that you had a salad or something the other
Yeah,
night,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
forgot to bring them
And
over.
I think
But
you have
next time.
a recipe for it.
Yeah, I do. On
Ooh.
Mary's Nest, if you like to make homemade croutons and homemade breadcrumbs, I show you how to save your bread scraps and I love this making things for pennies, whether it's bone broth from a chicken carcass or you save a few scraps in the freezer of bread. And I did laugh, though, because I know a lot of folks have said, who has stale bread? Who has spare bread? Bread is like eaten. But every once in a while, if you do have a piece that maybe's gone a little stale or something, keep it in a bag, throw it in your freezer, and then when you fill the bag, make croutons or breadcrumbs. They'll be great. And literally, like I say, pennies.
You probably had a lot of stale bread growing up with me because I would open the bag and I wouldn't put the twist tie back on. Those annoying things. You taught me how to do that. You said,
at
Benjamin,
the grocery store.
this is a life skill. If I don't teach you anything else, I have to make sure that you can survive when I'm gone. It was sweet. And so, yeah, the twist ties. But I a lot of times wouldn't put it back on as a kid. I'd just have a slice of sourdough bread.
And that, it's very cute because, and maybe many of you can relate to this out there, when we homeschooled 1st through 8th grade, and that was actually what the public school recommended because he had such severe dyslexia, and I found a group of moms.
And back then,
there was no help.
Really have any
They didn't have
accommodations.
anything in schools. But it's funny, I knew, because they had told me, we never gave up, and you had a wonderful reading therapist, Mrs. Prim. Just
9 years of reading therapy.
The best ever.
She
And
was amazing.
she met Ben when he was in 5th grade, and she said, I said, oh, everybody says, he'll never be able to read because it's so severe. And she said, oh, no, I don't buy that. and she got you reading. You
Oh,
know,
yeah,
not
yeah,
perfect,
about third
but
grade reading level, which
yeah.
is enough to survive.
Enough to survive.
Enough to get by.
But I always felt my job as mom was to help him as much as I could with like life lessons.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I'm originally from New York, and like, you know, going into New York City, I lived outside of New York City, but I spent a lot of time in New York City, and then later lived in New York City as a working woman and whatnot. But I always felt the life lessons were very important, and it was very cute because I would say, "Okay, Ben, this is a life lesson," and I would just teach you something. And then we had a minivan back then, and I would always have all his little pals and taking them around to different homeschool activities, and I would hear him in the back sometimes saying, "Okay, guys,
You gotta have your mugging money."
This is a life lesson."
Yeah,
oh my gosh, I'm such a New York City girl. Make sure
Okay,
my parents
buddy,
would always
you gotta
give me
keep
the money.
$2 in the front pocket. You gotta have mugging money on you. What?
Yeah.
What, Ben? Really?
We live in a little town. You know?
That was great.
Kids would be like, "What?"
Oh, yeah. Good times.
Yeah,
I
that's-
appreciate it. I know how to do a twist tie. I know how to tie my shoes, you know?
That taught you that.
I'm able to
Yeah.
survive. The planets, the months, we spent, you and me, we spent so long on the months, the days of the week, and the planets. I tell ya, the months, that drove me
That was
crazy.
interesting, yeah, because I don't know if you remember, we tried one of the ways to learn was your knuckle. And you can start with the days or the months that are on the top of your knuckle are longer months, and the ones that are in the valleys are the shorter months. And so you have January, and then you February, and then March on the top, and then April, and then May, June, etc. like that.
Well,
So
that's
it's
easy to remember now.
You know, you're right. It's harder.
But boy,
Those
when I
are
was a
weird.
kid, that I didn't even get to the point of knowing which were long and which were short, or maybe I did and I forgot. But no, you were good. If I go over something enough, like we would always do from in high school, that's how I learned things. The two of us would go on a walk. You'd have a piece of paper and just read it off, and then I'd repeat it back to you, and you'd ask me questions about it, and yeah, I mean that's how. I would have failed every class if it wasn't for that. So,
but you had that wonderful persistence
Oh.
and
Oh, you really
optimism,
did.
optimism and persistence.
I'd get
Yes.
distracted
And
sometimes.
that really
You gotta have-
carried him forward to success.
You gotta
in
have
life.
both, you know. You really gotta be. It's good to be positive, and it's good to keep trying.
Amen to that.
Yes, amen.
What goodies did you have
Oh
here?
yes. Well, I have to say, this is such a unique thing that I have not seen before, and I was impressed by it. It is a superfruit organic freezer pops, but they don't start off frozen. So you will put these in the freezer. They come just like this, liquid inside, and I can even open it if we want to show.
If you want.
Think of one of
You
those.
got a picture on the back.
One of those bars. Oh, and there's
and
a picture on the front.
Yeah.
And so you can just plop these in the freezer, and they are, organic freezer pops, 100% juice. That's what got
And
me.
puree. Oh,
And puree.
nice.
I mean, that.
That was pretty cool
It's
because in I don't know what they were called a long time ago. We used to have these strips.
They're still a thing.
Those
Yeah.
plastic ones, and you can freeze
Yeah.
them. But I'm sure they were very unhealthy.
Loaded
But
with sugar.
this being with puree and organic, boy, it seems like almost a healthy.
A
treat.
healthy version of that.
Have you ever had them before?
Not these. I've had the unhealthy version at summer camp and stuff. Blue and green. Those are the colors to go
that's
with. All the
funny.
others are kind of nasty. And give. There's always a ton of orange left because that's.
Well, we'll have to report back.
Yeah,
You have to
I'm
try
gonna
'em
toss
and
these
see-
in the
yeah,
freezer.
We'll try
and I'm gonna
this.
try 'em.
We'll try this and these, and we'll have to report. And you've got the salad toppers. We'll try those too,
Excellent.
and we'll report back because some of the things we got, we've never purchased before, but we thought, wow, they're new, they're interesting, pretty fair price.
Yeah.
And we'll see how they are. Generally, and I don't know what you guys would think, but generally, have you really ever been disappointed with anything you got at Costco? I think the food's always been pretty good.
It's-
Costco's great.
Yeah, it's neat. I know that I always forget what it is, but yeah, whenever you go through it, especially if you go through it in another town, you wind up finding things that aren't carried in your own town. I mean, there's a lot of things that are in each town, but there are some unique things, like for Austin and for when we've been in San Antonio. There's also, I forget what it is. There's the prices. There's some kind of coding with the prices, where I know if it's green, it's organic.
Yeah.
But if it ends in a 7 or something like that, is
I
there?
can't remember. Yeah.
Maybe y'all know and can
Leave it
can
down
share
below.
and share it with us in the comments.
And we'll learn, we'll research,
Yes,
and as
sir.
we learn more, we'll share it with you, definitely.
You guys want to know something crazy? I learned that there is a Costco for business
Oh yes.
that anyone can go to. And they have all sorts of different supplies and even bigger bulk items.
Yes.
I did not know there was a thing until yesterday at 3 a.m. when I was watching a YouTube short and that popped up. I was actually asleep at 3 a.m. last night, but
But Dad and I, well, I forget
In
where
Houston.
we were. In
You were in
Houston.
Houston.
I
We
want to
went
go to
one.
that. That sounds so amazing.
What's so different about it that I found is, yes, there's like a lot of like office-y type stuff that if you notice, at least at our Costco, we've got a couple of Costco's in the Austin area, that we noticed that the office supply stuff was dwindling. And we were like, oh, what's going on? And then we learned that they have these business Costco's. And when we went to this, we saw that there was one in Houston, and we were down in Houston for some reason, and we said, we're going to go see what it's like. And they have a lot more business supplies. But interestingly enough, I felt that they had a little less of the foods that I would want.
Mm-hmm.
And they had big packaged things that maybe if you had a restaurant or you were like stocking like a food truck or a
convenience
breakout
store.
area
And not
or a convenience
sealable.
store.
That's what I was thinking. Like, you open that thing of
Yes, some of the
100
things-
gallons of ketchup.
Yeah, some of them were definitely geared for restaurants, and it was interesting because we were like saying, "Oh, this is where they get the sweet and sour sauce." Remember, there were like
That's
these
right,
big
that's
vats,
right.
but we found that very interesting. So if you have any kind of business, that is and finding one of these business Costco's, it caters to different types of businesses. Like there's a lot of office supplies, but then there's a lot of restaurant style foods. But the most interesting thing about it, all the colds are in a massive area. My gosh, it was almost like the size of a Walmart. Remember? And you walk through.
I love Walmart. What about Walmart?
Yeah, we're gonna go to Walmart next time maybe. And you walk through, and they somehow to keep the cold in, whatever. And you walk through these things you need to push, plastic that you have to push out of the way. It's freezing in there. Bring a coat. And it's like going into a refrigerator. And there are all the cold things. There's the milk, there's butter, there's eggs, there's meats, but massive things of meat. And it was very, very interesting. We didn't wind up buying a lot only because it's very much geared, to big, businesses and I would say a lot of food, a lot of restaurant businesses. I could see shopping
tons
there.
of eggs. This was during the time, I think, when there was an egg shortage.
Yeah.
And they had tons
They
of
had
eggs.
tons of
They had
eggs.
tons of
But
milk,
in like big
bottles of
big
milk.
packages of eggs,
Yeah.
yeah. And the what do you call the thing when it's in a like this down here? I won't say what it is because I know you haven't showed people yet. But when
Like
you have a
it's
lot of
plastic wrap bottles.
yeah, bottles,
Sorts of
plastic
things.
wrap bottles, but
Together.
like you would need like a lift. That was like amazing how much.
Speaking of lifts,
Yeah.
forgive me for interrupting.
No, I was going on so long.
Costco has the best dolly. It's omnidirectional. You introduced me to it.
That is the
It is
best
in my
dolly.
garage, and we didn't get it on this trip. But look up the Costco dolly, get that dolly.
That is
Should
very
I
good.
get
Yeah,
it?
it is very good. No, it might be a good short.
Oh, yeah,
for
good
the-
short.
little mid-form
Best
content
dolly ever.
for
Best
everybody.
dolly ever.
That is very good.
I ordered a fish tank online because I like fish. I ordered just a little one, not going crazy. I got I think it was a 22 gallon. They sent me a 55 gallon.
That's crazy.
And it was like 9 o'clock at night. I got a really big fish tank for a massive discount because I only got charged and I told them, I said, can I return this? And they said, oh, don't worry about it. thank God I had that dolly, because I don't know how I would have moved it. Now, I probably should have just called you guys, but I was like, I am going to get that thing on to that thing. And so, yeah, really great, because you can move it any way you want. You can adjust everything about it, really secure. It was expensive, though. I remember that.
but
It was a
good
pretty
quality.
penny.
Good
Pretty
quality,
penny, as you
yeah.
would say. Good quality, though.
Yeah, it's very good quality. Anything like that at Costco, I just find it's fantastic. Different things, like the flashlight that you got, home products. They have very good stuff.
They have really good quality.
What did you find any other good quality?
Oh, am I
things?
next?
Yeah, I think you're next, sweet lady.
Oh, okay. Oh, you know what I want to share with you? This is what I bought.
Let me get it for you.
Oh, thank you, honey bun. I got some spaghetti here. This is actually like a double dipper.
Oh, I can grab it for you.
But I was impressed with this because I'm going to tell you a little something about pasta. This is, now, if you ever watch me over on Mary's Nest, I'm not going to be a stickler about organic and not organic, because I never want people to get stressed about that and then spend more money than what's in their food budget. As over time, as you start to make more things homemade, and you might be able to move, maybe you're eating at home more as you cook more, and you're maybe able to move money around in your budget, and then organic becomes more affordable to you, or pastured eggs, grass-fed beef, so on and so forth, that's fine. But if you're just starting on your traditional foods journey, and your budget just doesn't allow for things. So I just want you to know, it's not like I'm like saying, oh, you gotta get everything organic. But if you notice, Costco and our H-E-B, we live in Central Texas. The Texans love their H-E-B. We love it too.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of grocery stores are moving in that direction to have more organic and make it affordable. And that is definitely the case that I found with this pasta. First of all, this is spaghetti, and this is organic. Oh, it's even better this side. Organic. And then this one, they had some different shapes. They had the shells, they had
It's a selection
some
of
penne,
shapes.
and then they had the fusilli. And so all very versatile shapes to make different recipes with. But what I want to mention to you about pasta, when you're shopping for it, the paler the pasta, the better. If it looks really, really yellow, it was dried very quickly. And you always want to try to find pasta that has been slow dried. Now, it may or may not say it on the package. I think if you're at the grocery store, there's that popular brand, I can't think of the name, but it's in the blue packaging.
Deco or something?
DeCecco, and that might be DeCecco. That says slow dried, and that you'll notice sometimes will be a little more expensive than some of the other pastas. And the reason that you want the pasta to be slow dried, and you can tell the paler the color. Now some pastas you'll see it almost looks white, but often the price will be kind of a little on the high side. I've seen some at Central Market, which if you live in Texas, that's H-E-B's sort of upscale supermarket. It's smaller. It's like to compete with Whole Foods, and they might have a bag of pasta imported from Italy, whatever particular shape, it doesn't matter, and it almost looks white. But I think one was like $7.99, a lot to spend, on pasta. But this was fairly pale, so I said, this is pretty good. This may be slow dried. And why do we want slow dried? It's because pasta isn't made, like if you use all-purpose flour or bread flour, or all the bran and the germ has been removed and it's just a white flour, somewhat, void of nutrition. Pasta is not made with all-purpose flour or bread flour or anything like that. Pasta is made with durum semolina. And what is that? Well, durum wheat, it's a type of wheat, and when they mill the durum wheat, the actual wheat berry, the whole grain piece of wheat, they're often referred to as wheat berries, when they mill that, you get, there's the bran, they're removing some of the bran and the germ, and then they're having the durum flour. But then they have something called semolina, and it's what's known as the middlings, and it's got a little bit of everything in it. So it's more nutritious than white flour or bread flour. And so that's why I always say when I see people making fresh pasta, and if you make fresh pasta, try to find semolina, durum semolina, to make it with, as opposed to all-purpose flour. And if you can't, I say buy spaghetti and just try to find, or any pasta shape you like, and try to find one that's a little paler in color, because it'll be more nutritious. Being slow dried, it doesn't degrade the nutrients in the durum semolina as much as a very high fast dry. So that's just a little pasta.
That would not have been. That wouldn't have been intuitive to me.
Yeah.
Because I've always thought that, okay, like cheese, you know, if it's a darker cheese, it's gonna be a stronger cheese.
Yeah.
If it's a darker pasta, it's gonna be packed with more nutrients, is what I would have thought. To learn that is
I think
fascinating.
and I think most people think that, because like you want your butter really yellow.
Yeah.
You want your egg yolks almost orange.
Yeah,
They're such a deep yellow.
Boy,
but
that's really good to know.
You want your pasta slow dried. And if it says slow dried on the package, that's a good indication. But sometimes it may or may not, and especially ones like this. There's a lot in Italian too. In this particular brand that Costco carries. Just look. It's funny. It is contrary to what we would normally think. But the paler the pasta, the better quality, the better way that it was made. It was slow dried, and sure, you know, because whenever you hear of any foods that are dried or dehydrated, slow and low is always the best way to do it, because you want to retain as many nutrients as possible. High temperatures are more inclined to kill nutrients, and so it's just I find it very interesting. But yeah, you have to, the paler the better. Now, is this as pale as some pastas I've seen? No. But it's definitely paler than some of those really yellow ones that I see at the grocery store. So,
and it's semolina's closer to the natural.
Durum semolina,
it's closer to the natural food. Like, I know you always taught me that, get closest to the natural.
To the natural, yeah. So I thought that was good, and so I wound up buying. I was kind of a double dipper on this one, rather than one product. I bought both because I do like. You know, it's kind of funny, but I see pasta as a vehicle to get more nutrient-dense foods into my family, because I can make a spaghetti sauce like a bolognese, but I'm saying like, I should probably put bolognese in quotes, because I can put in some ground beef, I can put in some Italian sweet sausage, some Italian spicy sausages.
It's delicious.
My husband and son love this.
Outstanding.
But I can sneak in a little bit of liver.
Whoa.
And nobody will know. I'm releasing secrets here.
It's the nuggets all over again.
The liver nuggets. Yeah. But you can sneak in a little liver. You can sneak in a little, you know, any of the animal parts that are really nutrient dense, the organ meats that maybe your family, the giblets, the family may not like, you know, right off the bat.
I got some tripe.
Yeah,
you want to try some tripe, Benjamin?
But you can grind up a little heart, you know, some of the kidneys.
It's very good for you.
It's very good for you. It's liver. And you can put a little bit of that in a especially a bolognese where you're using Italian spicy sausage. Spicy things can really kind of hide those flavors.
They won't be able to taste it.
Like a chili and things. But so I feel this is like using pasta, although not, you know, it's not a nutrient dense, not even really, even though it's made, you know, with durum semolina, it's not even really a nutrient rich or nutrient dense food. But you can use it as a vehicle to introduce nutrient dense foods to your family, especially if you're at the beginning of your traditional foods journey, because
a Trojan horse.
If you go from like the various varieties of chicken nuggets are out there, and then you say, okay, kids, come to the table, we're having liver for dinner, nobody's going to eat. You know, I mean, kids are, especially if you have children, and they're going to be like, what? And I remember the first time with you, I cut the liver up, batter dipped it, deep fried it in lard.
This.
Tallow, beef tallow, deep fried it in beef tallow, and then I had some fermented ketchup.
It bubbled a little bit.
And I gave it to him for lunch, and he's like, "Mom, what is this?" I said, "Oh, they're nuggets. The nuggets." Just
But then I
enjoy it,
ate
you know?
them. It
And-
was kind of good.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that, and when did I find out it wasn't? I think you told me pretty soon
I think
after.
I told you pretty soon.
Or yeah, you were like, "Oh, see, it's not that bad," and then
Yeah.
and then I think you convinced me that it was a manly,
Yeah, it was good
big,
to-
strong man eats the liver, and I said, okay.
And that was funny because you said, "Well, anything deep fried is good."
Yeah.
That was funny.
Oh,
But let me
that good
see
times.
what this pasta was. This was the 6-pack. So each 6-pack was $12.99, and I don't think that's bad. You divide that.
They're heavy.
Amongst, and this is that's a 6-pack, and then I should have the 6-pack is in the front.
8-pack.
And then I have an 8-pack for the pasta. I gotta find that one, but here the 8. They were both $12.99. So the 6-pack of the shapes was $12.99, and the 8-pack of the spaghetti was $12.99.
Each of these is 1 pound.
Yeah, and each is 1 pound.
So that's 8 pounds of pasta right there.
for $12.99 and organic.
Boy.
You really can't beat that price.
I must say this was an interesting find. I'm not sure about this because this is freeze-dried. How would you pronounce this? Kyoto grapes?
I don't
Something
know.
like
Kyoho
that?
grapes.
Kyoho grapes?
They must be some type of exceptionally nutritious type of grape, because that always seems to be the type of stuff they have at Costco.
Yeah, because I think when we were there once, we had pushed the cart by it, and I thought that is unusual because you always see freeze-dried strawberries, freeze-dried, all these other things, except these grapes. I've never seen these grapes.
Oh, they're
before.
freeze-dried?
Yeah.
Oh,
pretty cool.
Interesting.
So-
they're going to be like a little crunchy.
Ooh.
Yeah, it just says it's made from, it's naturally nutrient dense.
Nutrient dense
100 grams
foods.
of these grapes is made from 600 grams of fresh fruit. So, just a ready-to-eat snack. It just seems delicious.
Well, that would make sense. If it's 600, they'd freeze dried.
Yeah.
Most of the weight gone.
Yeah.
So a neat little snack. I'm not sure how much it is, but I don't recall how much it is, but it was again, if you're looking for nice, unusual things that you don't normally see at the grocery store, and of course Costco, you
Oh my
get pretty
gosh,
good bargains.
they were a bargain.
Well, how much were they?
$2.97.
That's a nice treat. For how much
Wow.
is that? 3.52 ounces. That's not-
It's a snack,
but it is freeze dried.
and for $2.97, I mean today you pay for a
Yeah.
candy bar.
I mean, at some places, it's $5 for a little bag of freeze dried strawberries.
strawberries. That's right.
They're
They're
right.
expensive.
They are really expensive.
So that's
That's not too bad.
the only. I don't know if I've seen them at HEB. They probably have them, but I know at Whole Foods.
Oh, yeah, they're very.
When you see them, they're
Yeah,
really
they're
expensive.
pretty
And you know what? I didn't mention your freezies. They were that big bag was $9.99.
That's a great thing for kids,
All fruit,
Bright
and,
colors, for
and
looks
then a
fun.
snack, and then a snack like this
That'll be fun.
for $2.97.
You and
Can't
I
go wrong.
always like unique or odd things,
Great.
Wonderful.
Well, I, like my father, I like shiny things. So, I got this lantern that seemed very powerful. Also, 3,000 lumens. Oh, is it? No, that's not
Yours is
Duracell.
5,000.
Or yours is. Oh, you have me beat big time. Well, I actually got this because you got for me many years ago. I mean, 10 plus years ago, a lantern from LL Bean. Because it's very useful to have in a storm. I would use it. I enjoy going fishing, and sometimes it would be dusk, and I would have that. And then don't worry, I'd head home before the sun went down. Because what if you bump your head or something? But it was after 10 years that lantern was starting to give out a little bit, and so I said, you know what? I'll get this new lantern. And what I really liked was you can charge your phone on it. Without any cable needed. If I'm understanding that correctly, yeah, it's the wireless charging.
Oh, yeah.
So if your phone is capable of
That
that,
is pretty cool.
you can just flip this top off, and has the solar power. So let's say,
I like that.
emergency situation, I just place this outside, and then, okay, I've got a place to charge my phone.
Well, it says Tri-Power. You can get. Looks like you can charge it up with USB. You can charge it up via the solar panel, or you can also charge it with alkaline D-size batteries. So this is another great one where you can do multiple ways of charging it without having to just rely on a USB port.
Never underestimate how important light is.
Oh.
It is so important. And we take for granted that we have all the lights on, and always light and then have a little bit of firewood. You never know when you might need it.
Oh, remember
If you can't see, then it's a bad time.
And remember, there was a couple of winters ago, we had a very freak ice/snowstorm. It was pretty much unheard of in our area, very rare. And Dad and I didn't have power for like a week. It sometimes would come on, but then it would go off, and it was
I got
cold
stuck
in the
in
house.
Dallas
and you were
at
stuck
work.
in Dallas.
I was down there for work, and I got stuck.
Oh, bless you. Yeah.
But
That was an adventure.
But you're a good prepper. You had your backpack with you.
Always. I knew there
and
might
so
be a
you had a lot of
storm.
supplies, which was good. But he got stuck up there. But having things like this, we had.
This is good for your prepper pantry.
Yeah, it's good for
Yeah.
your prepper pantry.
Emergency preparedness.
We had and I'll tell you something that was very funny.
Gosh, sorry.
I'll tell you something funny. Remember, we had plenty of food and all.
Yeah.
Wasn't worried about that. And we had plenty of water, so we were in good shape there. And we had a radio that you can crank so that we could listen to the weather reports. And you can also use that radio to charge your phones. Well, technology changes very quickly. And the crank radio that I had no longer had the right plugs.
It was a USB port, and we needed a USB-C.
to plug the phone
It was
in.
actually even older than that because
Oh, it was the micro?
no, it wasn't even any USB port. It was those. Every phone used to have a different type of circular plug-in jack,
Yeah.
and so it had adapters for that, but it didn't have the USB-A or
That's
B
how
or
old it
C
was.
or,
So I
micro.
always tell people now, when you're stocking your extended pantry, your prepper pantry, make sure that all your devices, like your lights or your, because we had crank flashlights too that could charge phones, your crank radio, make sure that they all are compatible with whatever other technology you have.
Have extra
So,
cables.
Yeah, extra
Now
cables.
things are pretty
yeah.
good that,
Yeah.
that they've gone to the USB.
Yeah.
But you're right. If you have anything older, you probably want to replace it.
Yeah.
But these are neat morale boosters. When you're under siege like that, whether it be a storm, right?
It was
Some
like
kind of
40
storm that'll
degrees inside
knock
our
us
house.
out, or even if you're in the summertime and a storm's knocked out the power and you're isolated for a while. These are nice morale boosters. This lantern that Ben showed you, I know my sweetheart loved peanut butter, and that was a big morale booster for her. And I know in the wintertime, having that fire in the fireplace when everything around you was freezing, that was a nice morale booster too.
I was worried about you guys during that. I mean, because that was a
And we
week.
were worried about you
A
too.
week without power.
Yeah, you got, what did you, we're like
I was
you
at
were
an
at
Airbnb.
That's
And
right.
I had power, though.
Oh,
So,
you did? Oh, that's good.
yeah, I think I'd gone out to the Walmart, and I was helping some guy push his truck. It was a whole adventure. That was quite a time.
Yeah, because Dallas is about 4 hours north of here. So you've had even a little colder weather.
It hit different parts of the state differently, and more brownouts or whatever. We're losing power in order to keep the essentials on in certain areas. Hopefully, we'll never see that again. I hope.
Yeah.
I hope
That
we
was
really
a rough time.
upgraded our grid to have power sources that we really can rely upon.
Yes.
Indeed.
So
Who
was it-
is going next, I
That's
think?
me? All righty.
Which one would
Here,
you like?
Lift this one up.
Perfect.
This is something that I have definitely bought at Costco multiple times. This is organic chicken stock. Now, can we make chicken bone broth very affordably, very reasonably, very easily? Definitely. And over on Mary's Nest, I have lots of recipes for different types of chicken bone broth, beef bone broth, pork, fish, all of that. Yes.
Every bone broth that
Every
exists.
bone broth. But in the thinking of multiple streams of food, having homemade as well as store-bought things, I always like to have something like this in my extended pantry, my prepper pantry, because if I'm not feeling well and I've not had a chance, I usually have a fairly good amount of bone broth stocked in my freezer, but you can run low. And one year, it was the end of 2021. I didn't get sick through 2020. I didn't get sick through all of 2021. And then I think I made the mistake of going to the doctor in December. And I picked up a whole host of things, flu A, flu B. I wound up getting pneumonia. But amazingly, I could sit up and, I didn't need to be hospitalized or anything like that. But I also didn't have the energy to do a ton of cooking and whatnot. And having something like this in the pantry is wonderful because my husband could take some of the dehydrated veggies that you like. I have a big jar of dehydrated vegetables like carrots and onions and celery, and a package of ramen noodles that we buy. And he could make himself like a nice little soup, a canned chicken.
Yeah, and there was those nice, what are they, Frontier...
Oh, and then we had those frontier soups that have a lot of dehydrated things, but you do need some kind of broth and whatnot. And so I always recommend, and are they perfect? No, they're not perfect. It's not going to be the same as homemade, but but in thinking about multiple streams of food, you need to not be so hard on the things that are store-bought or pre-prepared, packaged foods. Try to find things that have relatively simple ingredients. That's the case here, and put it in your extended pantry. Have your inventory so that you don't let it go too far past. I'm not a stickler for that best used by date, but you don't want to go too far past it. It doesn't necessarily go bad, but it does start to degrade in nutrition. So if I know I've got these in my extended pantry and I've not had a chance to use them, over the next couple of weeks we'll make some of those frontier soups, or I'll just make a gravy. It's very versatile what you can do with this. So I can't say enough to definitely have this in your prepper pantry.
I mean, I grew up having just bone broth in the morning that you'd make homemade out of my little sippy cup bowl, where it was a bowl with a straw built in. Amazing. Best bowl ever. No, I have to say I use...
You have some of
I
this
have
in
your
your
bone broth in my freezer, and then if I'm out of that, I have this in my pantry, because anything that I could use water, I use a bone broth instead.
Yes, the same with
because
me.
it's more nutrient dense.
Yeah,
Just as I learned from the masters.
You make white rice, but you instead of water, you use bone broth.
Yep.
And this type of
I have these
stock.
healthy ramen noodle like things that I think we got, and instead of putting water in, I will put bone broth, and then it's just more rich.
Yes, and you
Great for the joints.
you add in a little butter, a little sea salt, and you've turned something again. The ramen, the rice, the pasta, they all can be vehicles for getting more nutritious foods into your diet.
Very good.
So what do you have to share?
I've got something that is very nostalgic.
It is very nostalgic.
This is one of those comfort foods. I really love macaroni and cheese. I guess I grew up with it. My dad loved it. I loved it, ate it probably excessively. And it's so easy to make, right? This is the Annie's, the organic version. Really, the only good one is the yellow one, right?
Oh, is it?
The white one, is passable, but delicious. And I forgot how much this was. This used to be a really good buy.
Yeah.
I think it still is. You've got 12 boxes in them. Stored in your prepper pantry, your extended pantry, or in your working pantry. Very easy to replenish, and a nice meal, and hopefully brings back nice memories to you too if you enjoy macaroni and cheese.
That was $17.49,
Okay.
and that's that's 12 boxes.
12 boxes. That's pretty
So
good. So a
that's-
little over $1 a box.
Yeah,
but yeah, not bad.
And I guess each has 2.5 servings.
Okay. It's probably one serving.
Yeah, honestly, they just do that for marketing. But that brand is really a good
Yeah, that
brand.
Annie's
The Bunny.
Yeah, the Annie's
They
is
call
very
it Annie's. It's the Bunny brand.
good. You grew up with it.
Oh,
The
so many.
cookies
And who doesn't love mac and cheese?
Yeah.
You know, someone has to be a little crazy not to love mac and cheese.
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't grow up with mac and cheese, and when my husband and I got married, and I was like, "Oh, what kind of sides do you like?" And he said, "Oh, I like mac and cheese." And it wasn't, I grew up with things like baked ziti. It was my mother's Italian, and I remember it took me so long to figure out how to make. I mean, I knew how to make a roux, but there are like tips and tricks to getting the cheese in and the right cheese to use and melting it so that it's not grainy. Because remember, I had because I wanted to use these really strong, flavorful cheeses, but I learned the mild cheeses work better and they're less likely to create a grainy cheese sauce. So now I know how to make it homemade.
You're kind,
But this is great because a lot of times, we're just tight on time and I'm rushing or whatever, and I know that my husband would enjoy some mac and cheese, and I'll just prepare a few boxes of those. And I like Annie's. I feel I can trust her brand.
Multiple streams of
Yeah,
food,
and multiple
where you
streams
have
of food.
homemade
And oh, forgive me. Yeah, I guess I didn't eat mac and cheese too much growing up, and for me, it's sometimes I'm the type of person I like cheese by itself. Usually. I don't want cheese on my sandwich. I don't even want it on my hamburger. And people look at me like I have 3 heads. I say, oh no cheese. But as I have aged, like Gouda, I've grown. I like mac and cheese. I think, but as long as it doesn't seem too processed. If it's got a plastic taste, then something's wrong.
Yeah.
What would be so mac and cheese is a nice kind of comfort food for me. For a mom, it would be baked ziti.
Baked ziti, yeah.
What would your comfort food be?
What would a comfort food be? That is, you guys are gonna laugh at this, but toast with butter and salt.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, you always made that for me if I was sick.
Sourdough toast, right?
Has to be sourdough. Has to be sourdough. Sourdough, a nice lathered up with butter, sprinkled with the big chunks of salt.
Sea salt.
Sea salt. That is my comfort food.
Oh, that's nice.
I couldn't find my toaster oven, so I made some in the microwave 2 days ago. And I have to say, my wonderful mother has stocked me up so well. I have all of the gear someone could ever need. You got me a pot. I don't even know what it's for. What is it? Wait, what's it called?
A stock pot?
No. It
a
was
double boiler?
Oh, what was it?
Roasting pan? Or?
Something like roasting pan. But I'm all geared up. But I just was, I was in a rush, and I said, I think I can make this in the microwave. I'm pretty sure I can. So I put a bunch of butter on, put it in. I stood back, watched it, 4 minutes. Do it for 4 minutes.
God bless.
And then you're set. And it was not bad. But then I found my toaster oven moments after I finished making it, so I don't need to do that again. But you always made that for me. That was my comfort food. If it was a rough day, midnight snack, or I was under the weather, so you made me a lot of toasted butter and salt. Thank you.
Glad. And one thing I have a memory of, you used to like it. I would make beef shanks and different things like that. And what I would do is I would, maybe I'd have a couple of shanks in my freezer, maybe a couple of ribs, different meats on the bone, and I would be wanting to use up things in my freezer, and then I would put them all in the slow cooker with chopped tomatoes and maybe some vegetables, whatever. And he was so cute because you used to say, I don't know if you'll remember this, you'd say, "Oh, Mama, I just love when you clean out the freezer. This is really good."
That sounds like me.
It was like a clean out the freezer meal.
Yeah, those were so good.
But those were good, weren't
just
they?
delicious.
Yeah. And they were different every time.
Oh yeah, different
every time.
This isn't exactly a comfort food, but something that brings back a real smile, and it's a little devious. But in high school, I went to a Catholic school. I was homeschooled up to high school, and then I went to a Catholic school for high school. I would make my own chili sometimes. This was a biohazard. I would put so much garlic, so many onions, to the point, and I'd put it in that thermos.
Yeah.
And then when I got into that lunchroom and I cracked that open, the whole room would stink of onions and garlic. And I would it's healthy. Why are you upset with me for eating healthy? The fact that I want to eat garlic so that mosquitoes don't bite me? Do you want the mosquitoes to bite me? I had a riot with that. Eventually I stopped because I realized I was never going to get a girlfriend if I don't even know if I was allowed to date back then, but I wanted to make friends, and it helps if the friends don't have to stay 10 feet away from you, but that was fun.
That was fun. Yeah, you had fun doing that.
I was always, never rude,
you-
never disrespectful, but a little difficult.
Are you sure you wanted to do that?
And I'd get up real early.
Yeah.
I would get up real early, and I would take the canned chili because I was like rushing to make it, and I would put that in, and that was fun.
That was funny.
We're talking like 5 cloves of garlic, like a ridiculous amount.
In a little
Thermos this big, 2-3
funny.
onions, really.
That was funny. You know what? I forgot to say that the stock was $8.99.
Sorry.
And so no. I just was thinking about it, and there's 4 in there.
I mean, that's great.
But that's
It's
a pretty,
heavy.
Yeah. Or no, there's 6 in there. Excuse me.
Wow.
So that's a pretty good deal.
How
That's
much
for
were
organic
the bunnies?
and
Or I think you
I
said
think
$7.
$12.79, something like that.
17 something.
Oh, 7. No, yeah. The mac and cheese was $17.49, but that's 12 boxes, and it's organic.
Well,
But yeah, you were a
who's
hoot.
next there?
Some of the things. Another thing I got to tell about the funny things you would make. Benjamin was always helping me in the kitchen, and he would be stirring the soup or
Oh, yeah.
putting in the veggies or doing something like that. And one time he said, "Oh, Mama, I want to make you and Dad hors d'oeuvres. So
Oh, boy.
you go and sit down, and I'm gonna make them." You were pretty.
I have a vague memory
You
of
were
this.
pretty little.
I don't remember what I made.
So he got, I think you took out some saltines, and you took every single spice that was in my little spice basket in the pantry,
Oh my god.
and you put that on the cracker, and then you served them to me and Dad. But we never wanted to discourage Benjamin from making an effort to cook and make foods and whatnot. And we were eating those crackers and drinking water and going, "Oh, it's delicious." But you know what it reminded me of?
Yikes.
When my mother was teaching me how to cook, I told her, and that's why I thought it was so
Aw,
cute,
that
because
is
it was
sweet.
so spicy, When my mom was teaching me how to cook, and I had the cut up chicken, and I said, "Oh, Mom, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it myself today." And I had seen my mother use some red shaking can from her pantry. Well, it was paprika. I took the cayenne pepper, covered the chicken, and then baked it. And my parents were doing the same thing, eating the chicken. "Oh, it's delicious," and drinking tons of water.
That's
and that
so
was
funny.
us
Oh,
with
that's
the crackers.
sweet.
But we never wanted to
I'm sure one
discourage-
day I'll be doing the same thing.
Yeah, we didn't want to discourage you from cooking and making different things. And it was cute that you knew the word hors d'oeuvre
Oh.
and wanted to
Oh,
make
for
hors
sure.
d'oeuvres.
All the French, they have great food. I will give them this. I'll give them this. Is it a French word?
I think so.
It
yeah.
sounds French.
It sounds French, hors d'oeuvre.
It's funny. To this day, I have to control myself when cooking because there's that little voice in the back of my head saying, "Ben, just dump the whole thing in. More will make it better." But it's not the case. This next thing is something that I like. I enjoy green tea, and I got this specifically. I am not sure if this is the best brand. I'm not sure.
Unsweetened.
I'm
so
not
it's-
sure where. Oh, but made Japanese.
Yeah.
So that's great. That is, I like that. I had this a lot, you know, getting one, it was always kind of a, you know, relatively expensive, I felt. So I saw this, a pack of them, and I said, okay, let me go with this. And is this oolong or is it not oolong? Because I know one thing I was...
Green? Is this green?
So something Oioccha, Oichoa?
Ocho?
So-
Well, unsweetened green tea.
Okay,
It's
green
a type
tea.
of green tea.
Green tea,
Yeah.
you know, it's got some caffeine, it's got a little bit of kick, no sugar. I like this brand. It tastes very good. I will say be very careful with one thing. So green tea, you're good. With oolong tea, that's like the drink of the samurai, of the ninja, that'll make you turn into some Superman. If you drink a lot of it, you will get super nauseous because there are tannins in it. So don't buy a huge bottle and drink that entire bottle in one sitting because you will not feel well. I don't know how I know that, but
Theoretically. Yeah.
prescience. So yeah, very
What
good.
did you get, 12?
Yes.
And
How much were these?
this was $17.99. So,
The
but
bottles
for 12,
are relatively expensive on their
Yeah.
own. So I
It seems
felt
healthier than those like Arizona teas.
Teas,
and
yeah.
things
I
like
do
that.
like Arizona tea. I do like Arizona tea, but it's not good for you because it's got that high fructose corn syrup. So, but yeah, no, these seem
but
very
that's
healthy,
good.
delicious, and a good time. Oh, that looks delicious.
This is 8 cans of Rotel, and this is the peppers with the diced green chilies, and this one is organic. I couldn't pass this up because this is so versatile. You can put this if you're melting some cheese and you want to make a queso, and I know Ted likes little chunks of tomato and the green chilies in it, and so. Do you like it that way too? Do you like queso with the chunky, or do you like it smooth?
You gotta add some.
Yeah.
I mean, I take after you with that because that was the type of queso that
Yeah.
Dad liked, and so
Yeah.
you know, like
And-
father, like son.
So this is great for that, and this is something I really learned. You know, all these things come new to me. You know, but now I've lived in Texas almost 30 years, and so. But like spicy things and chilies, and then the hatch come from New Mexico. That's in August, I think. Yeah, but you can do so many different things with this. You don't need to just use this for queso. You can make this anywhere that you might use chopped tomatoes to make a dish, even some type of spaghetti sauce, even a chicken dish. Adding it to like what we were talking about earlier, where we take some meat on the bone and put it in the slow cooker. You can add some of this wherever you want to have some spice. Instead of just using regular canned tomatoes or fresh chopped tomatoes, this is such a flavor booster. And I got to see how much this was, because having this, I'll keep a couple of cans in my working pantry, a couple of cans, you know, in my back extended or prepper pantry. And this was $8.79. So just a scotch over $1 a can. It's going to be more than that at the grocery store. So this can't be beat.
Great deal.
Yeah, great deal.
And finally, last but not least, like father, like son, we both
Do you have yours? Ed?
got the 3-bean, but I think, do they call it 4-bean salad here?
4 beans.
They call it 4-bean salad, but this is a hill. This is a hill to die on. The two of the beans are so similar that it's basically 3 beans. And I mean, I have eaten this the entirety of my life. You know, a side dish with steak by itself, and you know it's good for you.
Yeah, nice flavor.
Nice
It did a
flavor.
Nice job. It was gone for a while.
It
from-
was.
It was
From
gone.
Costco,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then it came back, and it's funny because we took different carts
Yeah,
around
yeah.
Costco, and then how funny, how neat to see that we both were saying, "Oh my goodness, it's back!" It's
Yeah,
back. Yay.
And then I realized I already had some even more in my pantry. That gave us a little bit of a chuckle. And there's a lot of things like that, you know, whether it's the maple syrup, 3-bean salad, you know, What do they say? Children don't learn from what you say; they learn from what they see.
It's what they see,
Yeah.
what you do. Yeah, it's
So-
very true.
Even though I'm 26 now and I'm an old man, I still love a good three bean.
And how much
Three
really
beans
is a nice
salad.
bargain, I think, right?
Oh yeah, what was this? $7.99.
It has
So-
beans, it has green beans, kidney beans, garbanzo, and wax beans. Water and sugar, which is good.
Yes,
that
with
doesn't have
sugar. It's not high
fructose.
fructose corn syrup. High fructose
It
corn
has
syrup.
onions, vinegar, sea salt, and just wonderful. It's so
And
colorful
It's
and
so
delicious.
tasty.
Like you said, you can eat it on your own.
And
You
I
don't
Oh
love-
have
yeah,
to-
I do that all the time. Just put a bowl.
Yeah, and just have a jar in your fridge, and you're making something for dinner, and you don't really have like a planned side, and you're busy or you're tired or whatever. You just break this out. Everybody loves it.
Delicious, yeah.
And I do find it so funny. It's like they say 4-bean salad, and it's supposed to be the yellow wax beans. I see no yellow wax.
We spent so much time talking about the 4-bean salad that the camera cut off. What I was going to say was you just shopped with the Schraders. I hope you enjoyed this haul, and if you would like to see another one, click right here. We're the Schraders. Love and God bless.